Good morning, everyone. It's Betty. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been with you. I've been traveling quite a bit. I went to New York City and was just so honored to be part of the Fortune magazine's top 50 most powerful Latinas, and I got to have some quiet time with some very important, very incredible people, just very humble leaders and women from all over the country. And there were 5 that were selected from California that I'm very humbled to be part of, and some of our friends, Myrna and Nina, and it's just so many people that were just amazing. One of the things they taught us was, so now you're on the list, so now what? Hey Ron, what are you going to do with it? And we were talking about maybe changing the conversation of women to go from being victims to being responsible. And I'll talk a little bit about that because today's post is about day 8 of the Vipassana silent meditation training that I went to. It was a workshop, and it was exactly 10 weeks ago because I've missed 2 weeks. I've been traveling quite a bit. So I wanted to really get focused on day 8. Okay, there we are. Sorry about that. I guess I needed to get to a better area. Let me just walk over here. I'm in my side yard because it's just so pretty outside. So the whole focus is how in the last 10 weeks I've been able to really focus on how I've been able to incorporate the Vipassana training into what I've been doing every day in my leadership journey and in my life journey. So day 8, what I'm going by are notes that I've taken, and I like to kind of put things into perspective and make like a little graph. So if you think about, and this is what I've done, so if you have a piece of paper you can actually follow along. If you remember, the 10-day Vipassana silent meditation was all about getting control of your mind. And because your mind is always fleeting, your mind is always going places. And it's really important and really critical when we are focusing on something that we're able to do, to just focus on the one thing. And I remember reading the Bible or reading about the greatest people in the world. They always take time to think, and they always go up to the mountains or they go somewhere and they take time to think. And I've always wondered, well, why do they have to go away? Well, now I understand clearly. If you think about the 10-day time for the silent meditation, the first 3 days was about clearing your mind. And the way they did it, this is not part of a sect, it's not a religious or has anything to do with any of that. And I really like that because it was very objective. So the first 3 days was about quieting your mind and really focusing on, the way they taught us how to do that was by focusing on our breath. You focus on your breath, you breathe in, you breathe out. What's neat about the breath is you can't manipulate it, you have to breathe. And you can't, I guess you could take deeper breaths and then more shallow breaths. That's one thing that you could have done. But more than anything, you just really wanted to focus on, is it coming in? Is it coming out? And what that did, hey Iman, and what that did was it really got our minds focused on only one thing. And we had to work really hard at doing just that. And as I was thinking about that this morning, good morning Iman, as I was thinking about that this morning, I went to my own book, and in the chapter that I wrote, it's called In the Trenches. And it's chapter 7, and it's all about military leadership. And they teach in the military. I had an opportunity to go to DC and to get interviewed for Memorial Day weekend with a few Congress people and Raquel Bono, Vice Admiral Raquel Bono, and we were talking about values, and one of the things that the military does is they put you through drills, and they get you to do things over and over and over again until you get them done right. And that's one of the core values of the military. There's so many of them, but that was one of them that I was thinking about as I was thinking through my meditation, and why it was so important, because people have been asking me since I came back, why 10 days? And how could you possibly have stayed quiet for 10 days when I went to New York City and talking to the ladies that were also in the top 10 list? Some of them were astonished that I could actually stay quiet for 10 days. And then I go back to the military training, right? I go back to the greatest leaders in the world have ever either been in the military somehow, or have taken a training such as that. And there's a lot of training that happens. There's a lot of focus. There's a lot of drills. In sports, for example, we focus on training in sports. When I was doing gymnastics, I mentioned in one of the week's postings, I didn't get an aerial until I actually saw myself doing it, but I couldn't see myself doing it until I practiced and practiced and practiced, and then I could see my body going in the air, turning around, and then landing it, and making sure that everything was fine. So likewise in the Vipassana, I see something very similar, where it takes discipline and it takes focus, which is exactly the same as what it has taken for me in my life to get to certain places. For example, my doctorate, my master's, and many of you can identify with the master's program and doing it full time. It took discipline, it took focus, it took laser-like focus in a way that nothing would stand between what you've got in front of you and your goal. Really, whatever's in front of you is not going to stand between you and your goal, and you're very focused. Likewise, the first 3 days of the Vipassana training, the meditation, was all about really focus and discipline, and it takes focus and discipline to do really practically anything that is worthwhile in life. So at day 8, there were 2 days left of the 10 days. So in my mind, what was going on was, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been here for 8 days, and there's only 2 days left, and I really want to be here longer. Believe it or not, I wanted to be there longer. The solitude and the quiet, and being able to really only focus on one thing at a time, and having discipline in my thoughts, and all of that was really very, very refreshing, because I'd never in my life had a quiet mind. My mind has always gone, and some of you can probably identify with that, because my mind was always going 100 miles an hour in 100 different directions. And you probably remember working together how that was. So there are 2 days left, and what Goenka, who was the trainer, said, you really have to work very seriously and diligently. And those words got forever ingrained in my mind. Working seriously and diligently, it's almost like my life, right? Everything that I put my mind to, I worked seriously and diligently. And people ask, why are you able to do all those things? Well, because I work seriously and diligently, and I just really focus on it. So there are 3 words that I want to bring up: craving, aversion, and ignorance. Craving, aversion, and ignorance. And I'll talk about those in just a little bit. Now, the whole process for me was about creating focus, awareness, and objectivity. Focus in a way that I'm not thinking about other things. I can be only focused, laser-like focused on one thing, one person, one group of people. I can think very fast and many of you can think very fast. Now I can think a lot faster because I'm only thinking about one thing. This week, for example, Eric, who is the president of my company, hosted an event for all of my leadership team. And I was asked to put together something. And I put together this breakout group that was really critical in getting the brain power from everybody and really collecting a lot of different ideas for something that we're doing at the bank. And I remember thinking very quickly and thinking on the spot, how many minutes do I have? How am I going to break these people up? And how are we going to get the most ideas from everyone? And there were some things that I did not count on, but at the very last minute, I found myself only thinking about one thing and getting everything done to the point where everybody was, we were done, we got done early, we got a tremendous amount of brain power from everyone. And we are going to be doing some strategic thinking as a result, and strategic planning as a result of that. So those things couldn't happen so quickly and on the spot while you have the microphone in your hand and you're getting things done, and things are happening very quickly, and everything happened very smoothly. Why? Because I was able to really only focus on one thing. So awareness and objectivity. So let me take you back. So the first 3 days are about clearing your mind, and I told you how that works. If you want to know more details, just look at day 1, day 2, and day 3 of the posts, and you'll find those in my videos, and you can kind of go deeper. Then day 4 through day 10 are all about really focusing on one thing at a time and focusing on the sensations in your body. And your body has sensations all the time because your body is always changing. And so if everything is always changing, then you can really focus. For example, they said, okay, focus on any sensation in your body. And if it's a negative sensation, the first day I had some negative sensations in my back because I wasn't used to sitting down for such a long period of time. And so I went through and felt the sensations, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't want to feel this. This is negative. And how many times do we do this in life? I really don't want to go there. I don't want to have this tough conversation with this person. I don't want to tell them. I don't want to have a coaching session with this person. I don't want to tell them how they're not doing a good job because it's a bad sensation or it's a negative sensation. I really don't want to go there. Well, you need to just do that. But what happens is, if you think about everything in life passes, everything comes and goes, then you begin to look at life from a different perspective. If something comes and it's going to go anyway, then you're going to say, I'm going to do this anyway, and I'm not going to look at it from a negative perspective. I'm going to look at it objectively, and I kind of put my hand out like that, almost as if I'm taking and putting it right on my hand and saying, I'm going to look at this objectively. What does it look like? And then all of a sudden, the negative feelings go down tremendously, and that's what happened in my meditation. The feelings or the pain in my back went completely down when I started focusing on it being something objective and also something that came and passed. Likewise, if you think about that, so that's aversion, and I talked about craving, aversion, and ignorance. Likewise, something that is positive or something that you really, really want and you can't wait to have it, and you really have to have it, and this is how habits are made, and this is how addictions to smoking, to nicotine, or to whatever happen. So you start thinking about, I really want this, I really want this, and your mind is so focused on that you don't see the bigger picture. And maybe you wanted this promotion or you wanted this job. And I talked to someone who really wanted this job, and then they looked at something else, and this individual that I love so much got a job that was a much bigger job because he just waited and put himself out there and stopped thinking about, but I want this job. He started thinking about, I really want to make a difference. And he opened up his horizons, and he opened up to other possibilities, and there was something bigger for him. So that is about craving, because sometimes we crave something so much we forget the bigger picture. We lose objectivity when we only want that one person or that one thing or that one situation or that one corner office or that one automobile, that one house, whatever it is. So we impede ourselves from really opening up. And then ignorance is something really critical also, because sometimes we make a decision without really checking the facts. And we may say something about someone without checking the facts, and we may taint their credibility as a result. If we don't check the facts, then we're gonna lower somebody, or we're gonna make a decision that is not congruent with maybe our core values. So ignorance is something that we really want to stay away from. So we want to stay away from craving, aversion, and ignorance. And then the awareness and the objectivity is really important. So this is how it works, and this is how I have it written out. So I'm going to show you as I talk. You have contact, and you make contact either with a look or a touch or a conversation. You have contact. Once the contact happens, there's a sensation that happens in your body. Now, the sensation, you probably can feel it, and some of you may be able to feel it. If you, hey Bob, oh my gosh, Bob, how are you? And so you may be able to feel it because it's a sensation in your body. Every single stimuli, whether it comes from your eyes or from your ears, causes a sensation in your body. If you are able to get so focused on your body, and that's where the meditation comes in, then you can actually begin to feel the sensations when you have contact, when there's some sort of contact. Thanks for the hearts. So the sensation, if you have awareness, then you are able to feel those sensations in your body. And they could be sensations of something positive or sensations of something negative. There's a reaction that happens, and you almost begin to slow this process down in your body. You slow the process down in your mind as you're thinking or as you're feeling, and then the awareness comes up because you've been able to slow things down in your body. And that's where the objectivity happens. So the reaction can be positive or negative. The reaction can be, thank you, thanks Bob. The reaction can be something positive because it's a positive stimuli. Maybe it's someone you love that you say, oh my gosh, this is going to be wonderful. Or somebody that you don't like too much, and I really don't want to be part of that. So you don't control the stimuli. You do control your reaction. And by being able to focus on your body to such a fine way, you are able to catch your mind before it reacts by understanding the reaction in your body. So you engage before your mind engages, and before you fire up and you say something that you will later regret. And don't kid yourself. Your subconscious is always working, and that's one of the things that we were taught is even when you're sleeping, your subconscious is working. I used to memorize my lessons for school in my sleep. I would read them, and I knew that when I woke up, I knew them inside and out, and that's how I was able to get really good grades. But there's studies that have been done that even when you're sleeping, your subconscious is working. Now, a reaction is a habit. You can react to something, and last night we were talking at the CHCI event that I went to, which by the way was fabulous, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, with Dominica leading it. And we were talking about habits, bad habits that people get into. And you know, when you go to events, you may get into a habit of doing some things that maybe are not appropriate, but because you do this so much, it becomes a habit. And because it becomes a habit, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal when it really is a big deal. And so you've got to be really careful with habits, and you're not going to be able to notice the habits unless you slow yourself way down and observe yourself. And in leadership, in my doctorate program, we talked about the highest level of leadership. The highest level of leadership is when you're able to observe yourself. And I put this above my head because I imagine a camera, and that camera being me, watching myself behave with my employees, watching myself behave with my children, watching myself behave with the people I love. How am I behaving at this moment? And the highest level of leadership is when you are able to watch yourself while you are behaving. So you don't get so engulfed into the moment and into the habit that you're actually just acting out of habit. For example, for the people who smoke, getting in the car and lighting up a cigarette. For the people who eat candy or eat dessert, after finishing the dinner, where's the dessert? Because you start craving the dessert. It's now a habit, not because you really want to eat something sweet, but because your body is creating this habit. And because you're not slowing yourself down, you're not able to catch yourself. So you see the different applications of this are in your life, exercising, all of these things that we can actually create positive habits and deplete the negative habits from our life. Reactions can be anger, and you can get angry very, very quickly. The two things that fire me up are lies and injustice. Don't lie to me, and don't do something that is unjust, because those things get me. Because I know that, then all of a sudden I had someone lie to me at an event this week, and I caught myself, and I felt the reaction in my body. I felt the negative reaction in my body, and I started to feel the reaction that my body has when somebody lies to me. And where it used to be where I would get really mad, now I feel it and I say, oh my gosh. Then I just think about, wow, why are they lying? What is it that I'm creating that isn't creating a safe space for them to tell me the truth? So my reaction is totally different. My reaction is looking at myself. My reaction is not looking at they're lying and how dare they lie to me and who do they think they are and don't they see that I see it? I mean, there's so many different conversations that you could have. I want to give you an example that I wrote down that I wanted to give to you. I was leaving Washington, D.C. last week. I had just finished an interview with XM Radio and some Congress people in Congress in Capitol Hill. It was an incredible moment. I went to the airport, got to the airport an hour before my flight. By the time I got over to the gate, they called my name. I went up and they said, your bag is not going to be going with you. I was on my way to Canada for a dinner meeting with 27 people from the corporate executive board. And the 27 people were, you normally dress very nice. Well, when I travel anymore, I travel in very comfortable clothes. And all my clothes, my makeup, my hair dryer, my everything was in my bag. And normally I would say, when I talk to the supervisor, I put my bag in there at the right time, and I would make a big conversation. All I said this time was, are you sure that there's no way that you can get my bag on that plane? They said, no ma'am, we really tried and there's no possible way. I said, okay, not a problem. And I went and sat down. And then I was watching myself, like I was just saying, I was watching myself doing this thinking, oh my gosh, look at my reaction. It's so different today than it has been in the past. And those are the subtle differences that I'm seeing in my life. And I feel so much more peace. So what happened? I went and sat down and I called and I asked Sharon, who is leading the dinner, excuse me, is there a place that I can get some clothing? All I need is a jacket and some shoes, and if I can just get some clothing. And she said, actually, yeah, we're staying at the Fairmont, and the Fairmont in Toronto, there's underground shops, and you can just go into one of those shops, but you've got to hurry because they close at 7. Now, keep in mind, my plane landed at 6. The hotel was 30 minutes away from the hotel. And then the place where the dinner was another 10 minutes away from the hotel. So my time was very, very short. I went into the hotel. I figured, okay, I need to go get the clothes first. So I went, walked in, got dressed, got some beautiful Italian shoes, beautiful Italian pants, and then the jacket to go with it. I had a turtleneck, so that worked. And I just went straight into and changed and freshened up however I could without makeup and without toiletries. And then I went straight in, and I was 15 minutes late to my 7 o'clock dinner. Now, I was in a very good mood, and I was actually excited, and because I just bought some wonderful clothes, and really good Italian clothes, and I love the Italian ones because they fit so nicely. And so I felt like $1,000,000. I was walking in, I had a new outfit, and everything was fine. Now, I had just told somebody, one of the guys, who are also executives from different banks, hey, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me. And they said, oh my gosh, I hope they reimbursed you your money, and I hope they gave you money for those clothes. And I said, you know, I didn't even think about it. And actually, when she said, you know, we need to find out about the plane before we reimburse you, I said to her, no, I don't need to get reimbursed. I'm going to be wearing those clothes, and it just didn't seem right that I would have to get reimbursed. Long story short, I did get reimbursed. I noticed that when I left Toronto to go back to DC for some other meetings I had. And it was really interesting because I looked at my statement, and there was a $200 credit from the airline, and I didn't ask for it. But I was very kind and gentle and understanding about where they were and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And this week I posted something on social media that says, you know, always put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And that was something that I did. And I didn't always do that before the Vipassana, the meditation. So it was a big learning to know how to do that. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to kind of wrap this up. So if you think about putting yourself, hey Nubia, if you think about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, how many times do we have situations in our life, such as the situation that happened to me between Washington, D.C. and Toronto, and something happens, and again, back to what I said, right? So there's the contact, there's the sensation, something happens, and then you have a reaction, and you don't focus on whatever reaction you have. You're talking to people, and you say, well, in your mind, maybe they did something that in your mind was they weren't thinking, or it wasn't good enough, or whatever it was in your mind, and you focus on reactions with your spouse, with your children, with your employees. How many times do we do that without slowing down and stopping and really putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes, putting ourselves in our employee's shoes, in our husband or our spouse or our children or whoever it is that is in front of us, and even a total stranger like I had at the airport in DC, at Dulles Airport. If I would have gotten upset, I would have gotten upset at the situation, but I would have taken that situation out on that person in front of me. How fair is that? The other piece is, if I would have gotten upset at the situation that I had no control over, I'm getting myself upset. It's like my mother used to say, it's like drinking cyanide and expecting the other person to die. I'm the one that's hurting myself. I'm not hurting them. I'm ruining my reputation with them. I'm ruining trust with them. I'm breaking trust. And sometimes it takes a long time to build trust with people. And so you begin to see the repercussions of us not really having the awareness of what's happening in our bodies before we actually react and say something that we're going to regret. And then we wonder why the people don't trust us. Why are people lying to us? And when people lie to us, we say it's them. They're a liar. No, we created an environment where it's not safe enough for them to tell me the truth. And so if we think about all of this, I want to give you something that Goenka said, and I'm going to read this quote because I wrote this quote for you. It is easy to be pleasant when life flows along like a sweet song, But the man or woman worthwhile is a man or woman with a smile when everything goes dead wrong. I'm going to read it again. It is easy to be pleasant when the life flows along like a sweet song. But the man or woman worthwhile is a man or woman with a smile when everything goes dead wrong. That's by Kawenka. And this is the lesson that I got, the biggest lesson I got from day 8 and from the last couple of weeks of my travels, and the ability to really stay focused, and the ability to stay in tune, and the ability to have my brain completely trained to be only in one place. There's a book called Habit, or The Habit, and it's a really good book that I recommend. We talked a little bit about habits today, and this book goes into the neurology of how habits are formed, and it really complements this week's insights. So if you have an opportunity to pick up the book, or just Google YouTube on a summary of the book, I would highly recommend that. It's a really good book. Another book that I would highly recommend, because of the reactions and all of that, is The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. I have read that book, I can't tell you how many times. All of the teams that I have ever managed, I've probably bought about 500 of those books for my people. And even my own daughter did a book review on it when she was in high school. We can't change the past, but we can take control of the present by becoming masters of ourselves. So I will leave you with that. We can't change the past, but we can take control of the present by becoming masters of ourselves. The future is the combination of the past plus the present. And the present is now, and it's really important for us to be in the now, be here now. So with that, I leave you. Have a wonderful weekend. I get to spend the weekend with my daughter Alexandria, who's here from out of town, so we're going to spend some quality time tonight, cooking together and breaking bread together and eating together and having some quiet family time. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. And next week I'll come back again at 8:30 in the morning. And I'll be talking about day 9, which was a pivotal day as we started thinking about, oh my goodness, we started saying some words and beginning to re-enter into talking after being silent for 9 days. Have a super fantastic weekend and a fantastic week next week. Make a difference for people, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.